What is up, guys? I have a very spicy match here between me and my friend. My friend is on the left playing Amaryllis, and I am on the right playing Hero Frogs. This was an absolute banger of a match. It was very back and forth, so I hope you guys enjoy it. He slaps the T1 Dust Shoot, hitting the Gores, which I think is right play, but luckily I have the E-Call to grab the Stratos. I actually play 2 E-Call in this build because I really want to guarantee that I see Stratos early on, or at least a hero. A lot of my games that I end up losing, I just don't have the hero in the grave for Miracle Fusion, so I'm like, fuck it, we're just gonna play 2 E-Call and make sure that we always see a hero. So I think we search for Prodigy since we don't have the frog engine going quite yet. I do have the dupe frog, so hopefully that gets me to swap frog at some point. But right now we're just chilling with the Prodigy, and we also have the Malicious Edge in hand, so we do have a tribute for that, so there's that. I debate whether or not to attack because I'm kind of afraid of Gores, but I end up doing it anyway because I have the Prodigy and Econ in my hand, so I could always special summon the Prodigy, Econ his Gores, tribute the Gores for Malicious Edge, and run over the token if I need to. So we say fuck it. I set the Econ behind the Stratos. I'm not entirely sure why I did it. I just felt like protecting my Stratos since I didn't have Treeborn online yet. I guess really the only thing I'm afraid of him using is Titanial, and even if I do turn that to defense, it's gonna have 2600 defense anyway, I think, which is the same as Malicious Edge, so I'm not sure how good of an idea it was to set the Econ, because he does pop it with Lila. I don't think he does too much this turn. Okay, he sets one, I think, just proceeds to mill, but he mills kind of nice, and he hits a Dandelion, so he gets 2 tokens for free, and he also hit, what else did he hit? I think that's Titanial. I can't really see it because the thing I'm using to record right now is kind of blocking part of the screen, so I think he hit a Titanial and a Dandelion, which is pretty good mill. I do a weird play here. I end up summoning Dupe Frog in attack and try to clear his token and the Lila, and I'm like, okay, if you have Mirror Force right here, then at least I can grab Swap Frog and get my engine going. But he does a really curious play here. He ends up torrentialing this board, which is pretty bad. He's going like essentially 4 for 1 since I replaced the Dupe Frog with Swap Frog, but I guess his hand just didn't really let him deal with my board effectively, and he just wanted to get the Dupe Frog and the Stratos out of there. It could be bad if I had another Dupe Frog in hand and I summoned that and I Dupe blocked him, or maybe even if he just let me turn the Dupe Frog to defense, but really interesting. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly why he did that. I guess he just can't deal with the Stratos. Okay, so he does get the Amaryllis back in the end phase. I E-Call for my last hero in the deck, which is Ocean. I try to pitch the Ocean to special summon Swap Frog, but he's running the spicy tech, super spicy, Divine Wrath, which looks great in ulti, by the way. I love that card. I do want to play it in some decks, and here you can see it ends up trading favorably since I had to pitch a card for the Swap Frog. So he goes 2 for 2 and prevents my Treeborn, which is pretty solid. Luckily, I do have the Prodigy in my hand, as well as Malicious Edge, so I do have a play still since I special summoned the Swap Frog. So I tribute the Prodigy, which is nice because you get a draw if you tribute it for a evil hero monster. He does Wind Blast it back to the top of my deck, and I just put it right back on my hand since Prodigy draws in the end phase anyway. And now he's just gonna go super aggro, and this is how much is this on board? That's 17 plus 22, 49, plus Amaryllis will be 8. That will be 5700 damage if I let this go through, and that would put me at 600 life, which means I'm in lethal range for Amaryllis. So I'm basically just doing the math right here and thinking about what to do, and I decide that I kind of have to drop Battle Fader right here, otherwise I am totally within lethal range. So So that's what I'm debating, and I'm like, okay, I'll do it. I didn't really want to do this now, but I think this is the most value I'm gonna get out of this battle fader. And then we draw for turn. I think I have an Alias in my hand, an Alias and the Malicious Edge, and I decide to, I accidentally grabbed the wrong card. I was trying to summon Malicious Edge. So now I'm debating what to attack, and if I hit the Amaryllis, he's just gonna get it back in his end phase. If I hit the Sanguine, he's gonna search, and if I leave the Lila on the field, he's gonna get more mills. So I decided just to attack the Lila. Here he's milling because he forgot to mill in his end phase. But we clear the Lila, and now I'm like, okay, if you want this Amaryllis in the grave, you're gonna have to attack me, or if you want the Sanguine in the grave, you're gonna have to attack me. He keeps him in attack mode since Malicious Edge does piercing damage, so there's that. I'm assuming the set card is a Raikou, so I'm trying to figure out how to deal with that effectively or most efficiently. I do have a Ryza in my hand that I just top decked, so I could potentially attribute the Malicious Edge to maybe bounce something back, but that doesn't seem like a good idea. So I think what I end up doing here is I just normal summon the Swap Frog and then attack his monsters. Again, I don't really want to be attacking this Sanguine because I don't want him to get a free Lone Fire or Debris Dragon. So I'm like, you can attack me if you want that search, but I'm not going to just give it to you for free. Okay, so I decide to attack the Amaryllis first. Again, I think the set is Raikou, so you don't want to attack that first, otherwise he's just gonna pop your other monster. And then I decide to attack the Raikou with the Swap Frog, and he's gonna be forced to pop the Malicious Edge, which means I'm gonna get the Swap Frog back to my hand. Let's see if I leave this on the field or put it back in the hand. I'm pretty sure I put it back in the hand. Yep, so we bounce it back. And he's only on one card, Sanguine, and one card in hand, so I'm like kind of chilling right here. And I think I still have, what's it called? Alias in my hand, maybe? But we definitely still have the Rise in the hand, so that's pretty good. He's got double Amaryllis, though, which is a problem. It's definitely a problem. Let's see. I'm not too low in life right now, so it's not a problem yet, but the double Amaryllis definitely does become a problem. So I put one back on top of the deck so that he's going to be forced to draw it again. And I don't want to attack the Sanguine because I want him to draw that dead Amaryllis. So now I'm thinking, I think I have a Miracle Fusion in hand, which I don't really know. I didn't have to do this, especially since I'm planning to not attack with the Sanguine because I don't want him to get the Surge. I want him to top deck dead. But I think for some reason, I just kind of felt scared leaving just the Ryza on the field. Who knows, he could have like Mark of the Rose in his hand or something. He probably would have used that last turn, I don't know. But I just felt scared to leave the Ryza on the field, so I made the absolute 0. So he top decks that Amaryllis, turns the Sanguine into defense mode, brings back the Amaryllis that I just killed, and just tries to wall up, I think. Yeah. Okay, so here, get back the Treeborn, and now I'm kind of thinking, you know, obviously I could switch the Treeborn to, I could have brought the Treeborn back in attack mode and attack the Amaryllis, and then get in there for some pretty good damage. Hoping he doesn't have Mirror Force at this point in time. Here I just realized that Amaryllis has 0 defense. I should probably have something in the Treeborn attack mode, so he lets me do that. It doesn't really end up mattering because what I do is I use Swap Frog's effect to bounce back the Ryza. And then since I did normal summon, I could tribute that Treeborn. So it didn't really matter what position it was in, since I'm going to tribute it anyway. And here I'm thinking, do I bounce back the Amaryllis at the top of the deck or the back row? I was kind of afraid of the back row being Mirror Force, so I just tried to bounce back the back row. It ends up being Wind Blast, and he's pretty smart. He gets rid of the Ab-Zero, which does nuke his field. but he does get the Sanguine Search, and he is still going to live. So even if I did hit, say for example, the Amaryllis, then it doesn't really matter because he would have wind blasted the Ab-Zero, which would have popped his Sanguine, which would have given him a search and made it so that he didn't top deck the Amaryllis. So it didn't really matter too much. But unfortunately for me, he does top deck fucking Lone Fire Blossom, which gets him into the Flower Bitch, Titanial, and he's able to easily clear my Ryza. And then, oh, actually, sorry, he clears the Swap Frog so that he could do 1800 damage and put me in lethal range, since he does have 2 Amaryllises that are online. So that's definitely the right play there, because there's really no way for me to play out of this at this point. Even if I can't, like, even if I do nothing, first of all, if I kill the Amaryllises, then I'm gonna die. And if I do nothing, then he's just going to crash them next turn and burn me for 1600. So I'm thinking about if there's anything I could do to get out of this, and there really isn't, because I think my hand is like, I don't know, 1-for-1 and Alias. So again, I can't clear these Amaryllises, so I'm just thinking here, and eventually I decide that, you know, I can't win this, so I scoop it up. So yeah, that was game 1, which was pretty back and forth. I thought it was a pretty good game. Going into game 2, what did I side against this deck? I put in Crows because I think Amaryllis removes from play as cost, which is pretty good because you can chain Crow. What else? I put in Soul Release, I think. I think I put in Lightning Vortex to deal with Titanials. And I think I also put in Torrential and Mirror Force, because those are also just good to deal with Titanial, as well as just, you know, nuke his board. First turn, we start with the Stratos again. Feels pretty nice. Again, I'm running like 4 ways to start Stratos, which is like over 40% chance of starting with it in your opening hand, I think. So we get the Prodigy since we don't have the Frog engine online. And we set 1 behind this Stratos. I believe the set is a Raigeki Break. So that's always a pretty good start. Summon Stratos, set Raigeki Break. If they set Raikou, then you could always Raigeki Break their Raikou after you draw your next turn, or you have the option to like pop their back row at their end phase if you want to. So he T-sets, pretty common start against, you know, my board. I decided to go for the draw just to see what we get, and ultimately I decide to activate the Raigeki Break and hit the back row, I believe. And here I just bait out the Raikou and attack into it. Because main phase 2, I can summon my Prodigy and summon Substitoad and go for the dupe block. I wanted to get rid of the back row in case it was like Wind Blast or something like that. He could totally Wind Blast my Stratos back to the top of my deck. I wouldn't really care. That'd be actually not bad for me. So we go for the whole dupe block. Thin out the deck. I always leave 1 Treeborn Frog in the deck before I see any of their side deck cards. Like, I assume that they're going to put in Crows and maybe Soul Release. So until I see at least 1 of those side deck cards, I almost always leave the Treeborn Frog in the graveyard, just to have it. So we go for the, we do dupe block, but we drew one of the dupe frogs, so we have to bounce the swap frog back to the hand and summon the dupe frog and attack, which is never ideal because if they can out the defense position 1, then they can just attack for big damage into the attack position 1. But he has Lightning Vortex, so I'm like, oh fuck, okay. So I think he actually mains Vortex, which is kind of cheeky. So I add 2 back to my hand. It's fine. He goes basically -2 right there, since both dupe frogs replace themselves. So I add the Treeborn to my hand because I just don't want to draw it. So there should be no more targets in the deck left for Swap Frog. He gets in there with Botanical Lion, which I think is a pretty cool card. It's a 1900 beater, and then if for every additional plant other than itself, it's going to gain another 300 attack. So if I say, for example, you have 2 Danny tokens, it's going to be 2500 attack. Alright, so he hits me with the Trap Dust Shoot, and My hand's pretty nasty. So he sees the Soul Release and the DD Crow. There's not really too much to hit with either of those yet, so that's fine. But yeah. What did he end up putting back? I actually missed what he put back. I didn't quite see it. I assume he put back the Crow, but I kind of missed it. Maybe he put back a Swap Frog? I don't know. So I just bring back Tree Board. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna chill out here. I set a Mirror Force. I'm hoping that I can bait him into attacking with another monster. The face down is a Swap Frog, but I'm hoping that he just assumes that it's a something with more defense, like a Substitute or something like that. And I do end up baiting him into attacking. So right now, the Botanical Line is at 22, which is pretty nice. So yeah, this is like pretty ideal, and this is why I put in Mirror Force. Really good, because Titanial otherwise is very hard for this deck to out, since you can't use Monarchs, basically. So he walks right into the Mirror Force, which is lucky for me. And he knows I have the Soul Release, so I can just banish all of his plants basically whenever I want to. And I took a little bit of risk with setting the Swap Frog. I wanted to set the Swap Frog so that I could have it on the field to start bouncing things back and gain some advantage that way. I do have this Junk Synchron in my hand now, which I summon, and I bring back Swap Frog in defense mode. And my thought process was I'm going to flip the other Swap Frog, get in there for 23 damage, and I was going to try to bounce back the Treeborn to my hand because I thought I had one in grave, so I could just get the free +1, but it turns out that I had the other Treeborn in my hand and I forgot. So what we do is we bounce back the Junk Synchron with one Swap Frog, and then we use the other Swap Frog to bounce back the other Swap Frog. So now we got this kind of little loop going with the Junk Synchron, which is why I love it. Like, Junk Synchron is just such a versatile card. It gives you access to Catastor, which is very good in a lot of matchups, especially like Fairies or Lightsworn or even Hero Beat sometimes. It gives you access to Goyo Garden and Embryonic. You can use Goyo to steal your opponent's Stratos and summon it and get your own Surge or Pop, which is super cool. Here he's kind of desperate. I think he only has like 2 cards in his hand, maybe 1. And he saw the Soul Release in my hand, so he knows like I can banish his plants whenever I want. So he decides to just go for this Mark of the Rose play, because if I banish his plants, he's not going to be able to activate this. But he doesn't have a way to convert this Swap Frog, so there's really not much for him to do here. I think his hand is pretty dead. He could just run over this Treeborn, sure, but then next turn, I'm going to get the Swap Frog back. I still have the Junk Synchron in my hand, and I still have another Swap Frog that I could special summon by pitching Treeborn. So things are going to get pretty out of control pretty fast next turn if he doesn't convert this Swap Frog. I could put at least 4,800 damage on board if I made a Goyo and attack with double Swap Frog. So he's thinking about it, and I think he probably has like another discard trap and no way to convert the Swap Frog. So I think he just ends up scooping this up. Yeah, he has so much life, so I'm not sure why. But yeah, you could see he did have the Wind Blast. And once he gives me the Swap Frog back in the end phase, I could just bounce it back to my hand and get rid of the Mark of the Rose. So he just skips that one up. I think he probably should have just waited another turn and see if he lived and see what he top decks, but it is what it is. Okay, going into game 3. So first turn, slaps the Flower Bitch on the field, Titanial. really simple opening, but quite effective against Monarchs, because now he's got this 2800 beater on the field that I cannot target. Yeah, so I never loved this opening, but I do have Prodigy and Substitute, so I am able to go directly for the dupe block, thin out the whole deck right here. Did I draw a dupe frog? Nope. Okay, so we go for the full dupe block, and I'm hoping this gets me there, but we'll see if this actually lives or not. I don't know, man. Sometimes the dupe block is so good, but sometimes it just does not last at all. Especially against Black Wings when they have Icarus attack, and they can make your dupe frogs miss timing because say you like activate Heavy Storm or summon a Monarch and target their monster, they can chain Icarus, and then the last thing that happened is going to be your card resolving, so it makes them miss timing. So I don't know. I thought against this deck the dupe block would be really good, but he does main deck this Lightning Vortex, and he's gotten it both times I've dupe blocked, so that's just unfortunate. Otherwise I feel like it's pretty decent. He does have Rykos, but that's a little bit slow, and I guess a lot of Amaryllis decks do run Caius as well, but I actually don't think he's on Caius. I think he's on Double Debris in this build. So attacks of 28, I decided to trade with the Mirror Force because I don't want to deal with his Titanial. And then he T-sets and passes. I'm like, okay, this is probably a Ryko. I'm going to go ahead and banish his Amaryllis in the end phase. He does have the second Amaryllis to come back, but we've gotten rid of one. And then we can make a kind of a wonky play here. I think what I do is I summon my second Treeborn in attack mode. And my thought process here is I'm going to clear this Amaryllis, and then I'm going to bait out this Ryko. Because I think I want to set something, and I don't want this Ryko to be popping my back row, so I can just bait out this back row. Bait out this Ryko. So like, how often do you see double Treeborns attacking? But he gets the mills off, and I think we do set the back row. I forget what this is. It might be a Torrential. It might be a Raigeki break. I'm not positive. Let's see what he does here. Okay, so he gets a little cheeky. He summons the Dandelion. He's gonna kill my tree board with his Dandelion. So it's a little bit of like Munchkin. It's a little battle of the Munchkins, basically. And then he gets the Amaryllis back in the end phase. I think, now that I'm looking at it, I think my back row is probably Raigeki break. Which, do I do it in the end phase or do I wait for the draw? I do it in the end phase. Interesting. Oh no, sorry, I did it after I drew. So standby phase, I can get back the Treeborn, and then I banish his Dandelion right here, and I'm gonna attack over the Amaryllis because I believe I have another DD Crow in my hand. So we clear that, take 800 points of damage, and we're chilling here, except for the fact that he's able to search his DDR and then get back his, what's it called? Get back his Titanial. But let's see what goes on here. Yeah, so he ends his turn, and no, he doesn't end his turn. What I'm talking about. He should get back the Titanial. I think he's just thinking about what to discard for the DDR, and I think he ends up discarding another Hidden Armory. So he brings back, oh, not Titanial. He brings back Lone Fire because he has Titanial one left in his deck, and he's just gonna fill up his grave with Lone Fires so that he can keep bringing back Amaryllis. Clears my Caius, which, you know, I'm not in a good spot after that. And I think my hand is literally just DD Crow and Swap Frog. So that's pretty bad. I'm in a pretty bad spot. So he clears this Caius, and he forgot that the DDR is still supposed to be on the field. I then DD Crow his Amaryllis, so that's pretty good. And I think what I top deck is a Brain Control. Yeah, so I'm thinking about if I should use Brain Control. I think it's a good idea because if he negates it, then that's fine with me. We go 1 for 1. And if he doesn't negate it, then I can always bounce back the Titanial with the Swap Frog. I forget if Titanial can negate anything that targets, or if only opponent's card that's the target. Because if it can negate anything, then I could just, oh no, I wouldn't do that because I would kill my Swap Frog. But I could bounce it back into his hand and make it dead for him. but he does end up negating it. And then next turn, he fucking top decks this Debris Dragon and has access to level 7. And what he can do right here is go for Black Rose Dragon and then start to use his effect, which most people forget about Black Rose Dragon's second effect, which is that you can banish a plant from your grave to change the position of a defense position monster your opponent has to attack, and then reduces his attack to 0. So basically, he's doing 2400 direct each turn and putting me on a 3-turn clock essentially. So I bring back this Treeborn, and I'm like, the only thing that would get me out of here is like a Miracle Fusion or a Monarch, and I did top deck the Monarch like a Sack Lord. The perfect top deck for this situation. Hit him for the 2400. He doesn't have an Amaryllis that's live and only 2 cards in hand, and I'm feeling pretty good because my other card is Swap Frog, but then he does top deck the fucking Mark of the Rose. Hits me for 24. And I'm like, okay, it's not looking good right now. It's not looking good right now. I'm literally at 200 life. I can't do enough damage to him this turn. But what I do, I I top deck so well in this game. So I actually top decked an MST. And I'm thinking about, like, you know, what if this back row is Mirror Force? Should I MST this back row and then attack him for 34? But no, that is not the move, because even if he has Mirror Force, he's going to clear the Caius and he's not going to get it back. And I'll still have the Treeborn and he'll have 0 cards left. So I decided to just go for the push with the Swap Frog and Caius. I deal 3,400 damage to him. And then all I need to do is set this MST. And if he tries to do anything funny or attack with my Caius, I can always MST in battle phase to get it back and disrupt his plays. So he gets the Caius back in my end phase, and he's thinking right here, and he's really wondering what my back row is. He's like, what the fuck is that back row? Because I'm acting pretty confident right here. So he's like, what is that? And he has, so he's checking my graves to try to figure out what it is. Because he has a Wind Blast and he wants to go for game right here and bounce my Treeborn. And I'm like, do you want to bounce my Treeborn or my back row? And it ends up, you know, not really mattering which he bounces, because I can just chain the MST anyway if he does it. So he tries to just go for the push and bounce my Treeborn. And he has to do this because so I flip this and I just ruin his day, and the next turn I could just attack him for game. And like, I guess he could have just, you know, set the Morphing Jar, but I could, you know, potentially just attack over that with Swap Frog and then attack him with the Caius for game. And he probably didn't want to, you know, give me more cards at this point in the game that would help me out. So he decided to just go ahead and try to end it right then and there. But there you have it, guys. Thanks for watching. If you did like the video, please like and subscribe, and commenting also helps out a ton, so please do that as well. Until next time, see you guys. Peace.